Today's daf is Masechus Nedarim Daf Samach Tes. So we are at the fifth line from the top, at the dot, the middle of the line. Claire de Gemara, Boyi Rava. Rava had a shaila b'negeya hakoma and hafara on a neder. So somebody that made a neder and had charata, he regretted his neder because he chapped something that was not there b'shas that he made the neder, and if he would have known that it would have happened, he would have hesitated to make the neder. So then he can go to a chacham or three hedyotis, and he could tell them, had I known that such and such would have happened, I would have not made the neder. And they could tell him mutar lacha, and the neder therefore will be batal. So Rava wants to know. Yesh she'ela behekim. So just like there's a din that you could have she'ela on a neder, is there also she'ela on a hakama? So Rava wants to know, is there a din b'chlal of being matir a hekem? So let's say a father or a husband that will make him a neder for their daughter or a husband for the wife. The halacha is that they can make him the neder, right? Then he can't be made for it afterwards. The question is, if that same day that they're making him, if they go to a chacham and he has a charat on his hakama, could a chacham vatal the hakama, and then the father or the baal can be made for the neder that day? Oi, ain't sheila behekim. It can't be shayla on hakamas. And once they make a hakama, they can never ever be made for it ever again, the neder. Another shayla Rava clared. If you want to tell me that there isn't in sheila behekim, so still you could have a suffix. Yesh she'ela behefer. Would you say that just like there's a din she'ela on hekem, would there also be a din she'ela on hefer, that if the av or the baal were made for the neder, then they can go be shoyl by a chacham and be mevatel the afara, and to return its neder to its original iser? No, maybe there's a din she'ela on a hekem because it's like a neder itself, but ain't she'ela behefer. There would not be such a thing as she'ela on hafara, because hafara is not like a neder. Maybe just like on a kama, because a kama has a din like the neder itself. So Zakti Gemara Tashma, I'll bring a raya. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan says the shalom ala hakim, the ain't a shalom ala hefer, but you cannot be shoyal on hafara because it's not daimit to the neder, rather it is the bittul neder. Zakt Gemara weiter. Boyi Rabba declares a shayla. If a husband tells his wife or a father tells his daughter on her nedarim, Kayim lechi, I'm being mekayim to you the neder, and then he says again, Kayim lechi. Ve nishal al hakam rishayna, and then he goes ahead and he goes to chacham and he does a she'ela on the first hakama and he's mevatel. So mahu. Question is, he said a second time kayim lechi. So what's the halacha on the second hakama? Do you say that since at the time that he made the second hakama came out of his mouth, the first neder was still there because of the first hakama, so therefore the second hakama had no place to be chal. So therefore it would not be chal even after he was mevatel the first one, because it never ever had a place. It's tam. Or Doma, would you say that no, that although at the time the second hakama had no place to be chal because he already had a first one, it wasn't necessary, but once he mevatel the first hakama idei she'ela, the second hakama has a place to be chal, maybe it is chal. So that's his shayla, that's Rabba's shayla. So Gemara Tashma, I'll bring it right. The Amar Rava, because Rava says earlier on in Daf Yomi Daf and Alf, and in Shavuos Chav Zayin and Beis. On this, that the Mishnah says over there, that if somebody says Shavuos Shelo Eichel Kikar Zu, And then he says another shvua. He says shvua shlo yechalna. The halacha is on the same kikar. Ein chayiv elo al shvua rishon. He's only chayiv on the first one and not on the second one. Why? Because the second one is not chal. Because shvua is not chal shvua. So on that zok Rava im nishal al harishona shniach al alav. So Rava says on that Mishnah, that halach in the Mishnah, that if you shoyel on the first shvua, then the shvua could be chal. So what do you see from this? So the Gemara wants to bring a raya from this that you could have a kama achar kama, that once the spatel, the first hakama yidei sheila, then the second hakama finds a place to be chal. Just like you see that Rava says, like I did in the Mishnah, if somebody makes one shvua on top of another shvua, like I eating a kikar. Zok the Gemara weiter. Rabba clears another shaila. If a husband tells his wife or a father tells his daughter, Kayim lechi umufar lechi. He tells her Kayim lechi, and he says also umufar lechi, v'leiteichel hakama elam kein chal afar. But I don't want, he says, I don't want that hakama to be chal unless the afar is chal. So mahu. Question is, what's it doing with such an amira? So it's clear that it's not a suffix that the hakama is not chal, because he said he doesn't want the hakama to be chal unless the hafara. So mamanav shach, if the hafara is chal, then the neder is batal, and you can't make a hakama anymore. It's nothing to make a hakama. And if the hafara is not chal, then the hakama is not going to be chal either, because he said l'teichel hakama l'kim chal avar. And he wasn't mekayim tonight. So, however, what's the shaila over here? The shaila is on the hafara. Do you say that since he was makdim the hakama, he said kayim lechi and mufar lechi, so we see that he wants to make a tanai also on the hafara, that it should not be chal unless first the hakama is chal, and maybe it's not shaykh the hafara is chal, or maybe no. He did not make that. He only made out. We don't say that he made a tanai on the hafara. We don't say that the tanai also goes on hafara. The tanai is only he made it on the hakama, but the hafara did not make any tanai, and therefore maybe the hafara could be chal even though the hakama was not chal. Pretty complex shaila, but okay. So zok tehilin gemar tashmal bring a raya. A plukta de Meir v'Rab Yosi, from the machloikus Meir and Rab Yosi. The Tanan we learned in the Mishnah in Tamura of the Afchafim Beis. If somebody says on a behema, he says harezu tmuras oila tmura shlam. He says this behema should be a tmuras oila tmura shlamim. So basically discussing the halacha of tamura, which is that if somebody has two behemoths in front of him, right? So one is an oila and one is a shlamim. And he tries to take their kedusha and put it on a third behema. He's trying to take two kedushas. One's oila, one's a shlamim. So what do? Which one's chal? So Remeir says that it's tmuras oila. He's going with the first thing that he said. He said, I raised tmuras oila, tmuras shlamim. Rabbi Yosi, however, says, im lakach neschavim etchila. If the guy's intention was that it should be chal and behema two kedushas, oila and shlamim, although he was makdim and he said oila first, it doesn't make a difference. And then hayol v'iyah, if that was his intention, then you say hayol v'iyah shalikrois shnei shemes ke'echad, since it's not possible to say both names at once. Devarav kayamim, and so his words they work, and the behema taken gets kedushas oila and kedushas shlam simultaneously. So what do you see from this? The Gemara over there, the Gemara in Daf Chavav on this halacha says, and that's on the sugya and Tamura says, that if he says tachol alea tmuras oila, and then he says Tachol Tumura Shlamim, then everybody agrees that after it's nitfas in the third behema Kedushas Oila, it's not shaykh to bichal Kedushas Shlamim. And L'umas Zois Fakert, if he says Loi Tachol Tumuras Oila should not bichal unless Tchal Tumura Shlamim, everybody agrees that both Kedushas go on once, simultaneously. Why? Because it's yitachin that he wanted them that they'll both be chal at once, and the halacha is that you have to just let it hang around the animal until it gets a mum, and you sell it, and you bring with the money, half of it you bring oil and half of it you bring a shlamim. And since you made a tanai that you didn't want one kedusha bichal, rather two, so behech we say that they're both chal. The Gemara says that loy nechlik or meir b'yosi only when's the machlekes, only when it says tmuras or tmuras shlamim. So Meir holds from the fact that it said tmuras or tmuras shlamim, and he did not say tmuras or ushlamim. So it's muchach that his intention was that first he wanted the oil to be chal and then the shlamim. So since it's already chal the oil, it's already too late, and mela no other kedusha could come in. But Rabbi Yosef says that it's yitachin that because he wanted to be mechal on the behema kedushas haguf, you should be able to bring it on the mizbeach. So he made a mistake, and he thought that if it doesn't say tmura on each one separately, even though it's going to be chal behema kedushas shlamim, but they won't be able to makriv it at all. Rather, you're going to have to let it hang around and buy what half of Chazir Shlamim. So therefore, we ask him, and if he says that his intention was that he wanted to be chal both kedushas, then we say, okay, fine, so it's going to work. So it's Tmuras Oil, Tmuras Shlamim. So what's the raya? So the Gemara is saying now that Rabbi Yossi that holds that you can't bring a raya from the order that the guy is saying, that it's the fact that he's saying Tmuras Oil, Tmuras Oil before Tmuras Shlamim. So Avada, he holds that if you say Kayim Lechi and Mufar Lechi, in our case, that also he's not makbid that the Hakama should be chal before the Afara. And so why was he makdim Kayim Lechi before Mufar Lechi? It's only because he couldn't say them both at once. You can't say both words at once. You can only say one thing out of your mouth at a time. So since the Hakama anyways can't be chal, why? Because he made a tanai, and he said, I don't want that Hakama to be chal unless the Afara is chal. So therefore, he would hold, Rabbi Yossi would hold an arm mission to that, the Hafara is chal. And even a mayor that holds in the sugya Tmura, you say Tfais Lashon Rishon, he only means that you should not say. The only reason why Ramey says you go to first lashon because in that case over there in Tamur, he did not say like teichel zul and ken chalazul. However, over here in our Mishnah, where the guy said like teichel akama and ken afara, Reb Meir would agree also to Reb Yossi that the afara bichal, because it's not mistaver that the guy wanted that he wanted hakama dafkin bichal before afara. Now, for carrot, he was makbid that it shouldn't. He was whole period was only for carrot that it shouldn't be chal hakama unless afara, but that afara could be chal by itself. That was okay. So that's the Gemara is bringing a raya from this Mishnah from this halach in the Mishnah in Tamura that you see over here. Lagabi, the Rabba's suffix that he had that aval afara could be chal without hakama. When he says this complicated lashon, he says kayin lechi, mufar lechi, and he adds on. He says leiteichal hakam and geichal afaro. So we're saying that avada will hold bring a raya from Tamura, then that afara could be chal, not a problem. So Gemara Vayter Anocha Shaila Boy Rabba Shaila. If a guy tells his daughter or a husband tells his wife on her Nedarim Kayim umufar lechi bevasachas. He tells her, I want it to be niskayim the nether, and it should be mufar lechi all at once. Mao, what's halacha? So Avada, there's no such a thing. They can't both be chal vasachas. It doesn't make any sense. Hafara is breaking and Hakama is making that there should be a nether. It doesn't make sense to happen. So what's the suffix? The suffix is the shaila is, so normally, once you have one of them, either Akama or Far, the other one can be Chal afterwards. But the shaila is over here that he said he wants Mavasachas, so you declare, would you say that is any one Chal before the other one? Or so technically you'd have a suffix, like we don't know which one came first. Is it the Kaim Lechi or the Mufar Lechi? Because it said it wants Mavasachas. So maybe you should go to Chumrah and say that the Hakama is Chal, and you can never be for this nether. It'll always be there, just partially because you go to Chumrah. Or maybe you'll say, no, you know what, nothing's Chal, and if you could do whatever you want. Either you can make for now, you have a choice, or you can make in the nether. So Dr. Mar Tashmal bring Raya, the Amar Rabba said, Kal Davar. She'enoi b'zachar zeh afilu asachas einoi. Rabba said a klal we have in Shas. Rabba says that anything you don't, that if you line it up b'zachar zeh, it can't be chal. So even if you make it b'asachas, it can't be chal. So what's the classical case is in Kedushin Daf Nun, the second paragraph of Kedushin, if someone's mekadesh a woman and her daughter, or someone's mekadesh two sisters, the b'asachas. So the halacha is that none of the kedushins are chal. Why? Because just like if you wanted to mekadesh a mother and a daughter b'zachar zeh, or two sisters b'zachar zeh, the kedushin's not chal, because the Torah says that it doesn't work. So too, you cannot do it simultaneously. So huadin akama nafar. Since if you already have a kama, you can't do afara, or if you already have a afara, you can't do a kama. So therefore, if you do Vasachas, he's saying Kol Shein Chazeh, Vasachas also Einai. So Kumdois, that the neder is not Mukam, and it's not Mufar either, and if you want, you can go ahead now. It's as if nothing happened, and you can either make in the neder, or you can even make for the neder.